Now it's my turn. So before Shawn comes up to give some words and do a Q&A, I just want to say some words. So I met Shawn, like many of you, when he was running for mayor. I appreciated his vision and his fresh perspective. Then I got to know him personally, and I considered him a very good friend. He is principled, fair, loyal, empathetic, hardworking, super smart, focused on serving, and most importantly, a great father. I'm sure many of you put your vision for Richmond up here. This is a true example of him wanting to be a representative of the people and to find solutions through collaborative problem solving. Shawn truly cares about Richmond's vitality, strength, economic health, and diversity. He is truly proud to call Richmond his home and to raise his daughters here. It is my honor to introduce my friend and the next member to the Richmond City Council, Shawn Dunning.
I'm already crying, and I haven't said a word. But I don't need to have a funeral now. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for all these words of encouragement. By the way, I actually have a written speech, which is not my style, but I figured I needed that. I will warn you, it's long for a short speech, but it's short for a long speech, so I think we'll get through it. But thank you so much for those words of encouragement. Wow. Thank you for taking the time, everyone, out of your weekend to be here. Just the fact that you're here without saying anything means everything. I'm so grateful for all the volunteers that made this happen. Could not be done without them. You heard Ruthie mention them all. A special thanks to Ruthie and Jacob for their leadership. Another big round of applause. And special thanks to my daughters. Yeah. Not just for putting up with me, but for their, putting up with me doing this, but just for their vibrant participation and support. And a big thanks to Cheryl, my rock in the peace. My rock of peace in the river of chaos. All right, today I'd like to cover 3 topics. Number 1, why I'm here. Number 2, how I got here. And number 3, where we're going to go together. So number 1, the reason I'm here today is the same reason you're here today. We all care about Richmond. All of us. And we all want leaders who listen and solve the problems that we face in our city. Turns out, we're not alone. All of 100 people here right now, but we are not alone, folks. When I ran for mayor, you've heard about it. When I ran for mayor a couple of years ago, I literally ran the streets of Richmond, every street. I covered over 500 miles. Catherine put the numbers right up there. If you drove down Barrett Avenue, you saw these numbers change every couple of days. Catherine, raise your hand. That was all her initiative. And in that 500 miles of running around Richmond, I met 5,000 people face to face. You heard from a couple of them today. And when I explained that my core purpose was to solve problems by getting everyone to the table without anyone owning the table, I was met with a resounding chorus of support. It turns out that's what people want. We want to be heard. We want our voices to matter. We want leaders who listen. And we want leaders who represent those who are entrusted to serve. I might not have made that cut 2 years ago, despite earning nearly 8,000 votes along the way. But as my mother explained, I don't give up. Right. Sometimes we have to learn the hard way, but it only gets better from there. Which brings me to number 2, how I got here. Bear with me. Let's rewind to December 25th, 1977. Just 2 weeks before my 2nd birthday. I received a pair of winter boots. The timing was perfect as we were in the midst of a white Christmas that day in the Sierra Nevada foothills near Lake Tahoe. I was actually born in San Francisco, by the way, 4th generation. Yeah. But moved away for a while, and now I'm back. In any case, without hesitation, I ran to my room to get changed, and soon appeared before my family, proclaiming, "I'm going to climb Snow Mountain." And out I marched into the frigid winter storm. Surprisingly, nobody followed, but they must have known something I didn't. Sure enough, within seconds, I returned to the living room, appearing quite cold and quite confused as to why my new winter boots did not keep me warm. Apparently, as the story goes, that's all I was wearing. Clearly, I had a lot to learn about proper preparation for outdoor adventure, but I'm happy to say that 46 years later, today's my 48th birthday, my carpe diem spirit and optimistic desire to explore has not wavered. And I've actually climbed a few mountains, including a winter ascent of Mount Whitney, and just a few months ago I did a technical ascent of Half Dome. I like to do hard things. Though the mountains that I aspire to climb these days are more of a metaphorical nature. They're connected to my deep sense of purpose, which is based on helping people get along more effectively and ultimately working toward a world that works for everyone. Dare I say, that's what I stand for. And I've been truly blessed in a career of over 20 years of actually getting to do that. As an undergrad, I studied communication and psychology and became formally trained in conflict mediation. Shortly after college, I spent a year traveling the world, and during that time I started imagining how the principles of mediation might be applied to international conflict. And I soon found myself on the way to graduate school, working toward a master's degree in conflict analysis and resolution. For my master's thesis, I developed a model for adventure-based conflict resolution. For sure I was the first to think about that there. It turns out activities like rock climbing and whitewater kayaking teach us that we're often capable of more than we can possibly imagine. Well, resolving conflict is also about overcoming seemingly impossible obstacles. For example, imagine what might come from taking Israelis and Palestinians on a wilderness expedition. That was back in 2004, and a few years later I was living in Berkeley and the phone rang. And it was an NGO in Washington, D.C. They said they wanted to do a project involving trying to bring together some really key Israeli-Palestinian emerging leaders. And somehow my name came up. So to make a long story short, in 2009 I helped design and lead the first ever Palestinian-Israeli Emerging Leaders Expedition, which kicked off with a 10-day whitewater canoeing expedition on the Rio Grande in Texas. 7 more years of programs followed, including expeditions in Spain, Croatia, Cyprus, and Turkey. I'll tell you more of those stories another time. Though I will say that that chapter of my life culminated with my wife and I moving to Jerusalem, where our first daughter, Sophia, was born, before moving back to the Bay in 2014. Which makes Naomi here 5th generation Bay Area. By the way, if you're wondering about the seeming futility of that work, given the tragic news coming out of Gaza and Israel these days, I want you to know that I'm still in touch with dozens of the leaders that I worked with. And they're still on the path to peace. Despite the choices of others. I know in my heart it's going to take a while, but we'll get there. I've witnessed firsthand, time and time again, that hate can be transformed into love. if given the chance. You can clap for that. Let me give it. So there you have it, a window into a little bit about who I am and what motivates me. Oh, and in case you're wondering about how much I've learned since I was 2, my work has actually taken me to Antarctica, a little colder, where I've prepared the South Pole Winter Rover crew for living in isolation for 9 months without killing each other. When I went there, it was relatively warm, only 40 degrees below zero. But I assure you, I wore some really good parka along with those winter boots. All right, now back to Richmond, number 3, where we're going to go together. Richmond, California, a conglomeration of 115,000 people from all walks of life. Given all the different communities, one of the only things that we actually have in common from one end of our city to another, 52 square miles if you count the water, is that we all have a common government that we need to rely on to take care of pretty basic but critical needs. So what does Point Richmond have to do with El Sobrante, City Hall? What does the annex have to do with North Richmond, City Hall? What does North and East have in common with Hilltop, City Hall? What else do we all have in common? We all want to live in safe neighborhoods. We all want to breathe clean air and drink clean water and enjoy the outdoors. We all want to thrive and be treated with basic fairness, respect, and dignity. So when it comes to my vision for serving Richmond, it's toward a future that is safe, clean, and fair. It's what you want, it's what we all want, it's what we all need. I want to briefly go through some of those points. Safety for all. Starts with a place where everyone is welcome all the time. Where essential human needs are met, including basic housing. Where everyone can rely on help, from mental health support to police protection. Where the traffic is relatively calm, and enforcement of basic laws is a normal thing. Where we have justice truly for all. Where we have a vibrant social life and neighborhood gatherings inclusive of diverse communities. Clean for all. We all want an environment that welcomes residents and visitors. We want clean air, clean water. We want well-kept parks and open spaces. Well-maintained streets and sidewalks. Roads and sidewalks without garbage and litter. Pretty basic stuff. We want fairness for all. City leaders who listen, respond to, and represent the people. Policymakers who are guided by transparency, accountability, and equity. Residents who see results for the taxes they pay. Is that too much to ask? We want a place where renters and mom-and-pop housing providers are afforded reasonable protection alike. We want a community where businesses are welcomed and supported with reasonable incentives and fair tax policy. We want to make sure that those who work in Richmond are able to afford to live in Richmond.
That's right.
And we want, go ahead. Ultimately, we want a Richmond government that operates with integrity at all times.
Right.
It's a long list. It could go longer. And for more details on specific topics, I'm not going to go into every single topic in Richmond right now, but check out the website. It just launched today. Yeah. You'll see more commentary, positions, perspectives ranging from housing policy and homelessness to youth activities and crime and safety, neighborhood engagement and fiscal responsibility. Whole list of things on there. I'm not holding back. I got criticized in the past for listening too much, if you can imagine that. So now on day one, you want to know my platform? It's on the website. Go check it out.
What is that website?
DunningforRichmond.com. It's on all of your little stickers and name tags and buttons and all that stuff. But let's be clear, we can't make progress without honing in on a few priorities. We can't do it all. So what are my priorities? Top 3. Economic vitality, housing, and public safety. Without economic vitality, and if that's too fancy, economic development, we can't pay for all the things that we desperately need. Without sufficient housing, we can't take care of basic human needs. And without public safety, we can't grow and develop as a thriving community. It's going to take a lot of work, and I'm under no illusion that it will be easy or that I can do it alone. But I promise you 3 things, no matter what. Number 1, I will always listen to all sides. I will always work toward win-win solutions, especially when you don't think they're possible. And my decisions, listen very carefully, my decisions will always represent the people of Richmond. I promise you that, but I still need your help. I'm asking you to help me bring collaborative problem solving and collaborative leadership to Richmond, where there's always a seat at the table and where that door is always open. I'm asking you to help me bring common sense problem solving to Richmond, where we take care of what's in front of us before trying to change the world. And believe me, I want to change the world, but we got to start here. And I'm asking you to help me bring representative leadership to Richmond, because this is your Richmond and it's your voice that matters. I'm running for Richmond City Council, and I need your help. The good news is I'm not alone, and neither are you. Just take a look around the room. This is just the beginning. You know, when I announced my candidacy for mayor on January 4th, 2022, I was completely alone. There was no kickoff party, no t-shirts, no balloons, no buttons, just my ambition to bring collaborative leadership into Richmond politics. I gave it my best shot, but I'm not done. I don't give up. And this time will be different. Before, I needed to reach nearly 30,000 people across 30 square miles. This time we're talking about around 6,000 voters over 1.7 square miles. But I said different, not easier. I believe that in order to beat the status quo political machine that currently runs Richmond, it's about as mean as I'll get, but that's true, I need to personally meet 6,000 active voters in District 6. That's not easy, but that's what I'm going to have to do. I need your money, I need your support, but $1 billion can't make me meet 6. Well, maybe it could. Wait. No, okay, we're going to do it on the outside. So here's what I need from you. Number 1, I need you, each and every one of you, to reach out to anyone and everyone you know in District 6 and encourage them to host a house party meet and greet. It does not require that that be fan club. The more against they think they are of me, the better. House parties, meet and greets, every day. I'll come anytime I'm available, day or night. Sophia, Naomi, you up for that? Number 2, sign up to volunteer. You can help me canvass the neighborhoods. I need to meet every person myself, but your support goes a long way being there with me. And number 3, endorse and donate. Add your name to the list of endorsements. The list that we got around here, that's literally just created in the last few days to people who immediately answered the call, but I know it'll get a lot bigger. Add your name, and every penny helps. I know a lot of you donated on the way in. I'm so grateful for that. Every penny helps. This is not going to be easy. So that's about it. I just have actually 2 questions for you in closing. Whose Richmond is this?
Ours.
Whose Richmond is this?
Ours.
Whose voice matters?
Ours. Yours.
I have to say something here. My name tag says, "Your Richmond, your voice." What does your name tag say?
Your Richmond, your voice.
Oh, look at Linda. What did it say? Yeah. you need to make sure it includes everybody, not just the people you agree with. That might be a tough sell, but that's where we got to go with this. Amen. That's it, folks. I think we got through it. I'd be happy to take, how much time do we have? Just a few minutes, very quickly, to do a little Q&A if you have any burning questions, or there's some topic that you just have to hear me say something about.
Should we sing happy birthday?
There's a 10-year-old in the room who'd be very disappointed.
Aren't we going to play the string game?
Well, the game, you know what, we'll do another event, or we'll play games for Simon. Maybe Simon says. Yes, Bobby.
Sean,
Use a microphone.
oh, I don't need one.
We can't hear you.
Okay.
Being recorded.
Oh, okay. If you could identify one group of people that we really need to get involved, that are the toughest to get to, who would that be, and how do we get to them, and how can we help them?
Let me answer it this way, Bobby. Last year, 5,000 people voted in District 6. There are 19,000 people who live in District 6. I actually want to represent them all, whether they voted for me or not, whether they vote or not. But the fact of the matter is we need to get more people involved in voting, but not just voting. We need them to know what they're voting for. I'm firmly convinced that the 8,000 votes I got 2 years ago was based on my getting out and meeting people, and people actually finding out who I was. So the challenge here is not a specific group of people, it's everybody. Anybody who takes out that ballot in October, November, puts it on their kitchen table and says, okay, how are we going to fill this out? I don't know any of these people. Oh, what's this mailer say? It's with the party that I trust. I better just do what they tell me. Well, I'm not playing party politics, folks. So if you're just going to do what the party tells you, and look at the platform. I'm not opposed to the platform of the party. I'm just saying, if people aren't informed on who they're actually voting for, we're going to keep getting the same thing. That's why I have to meet everyone. So the group, frankly, is everyone.
Okay.
But if you want to be really strategic, anyone you find that's saying things against me, introduce them to me. I'd love to meet them. Gary. Oh, real quick, District 6 is everything north of McDonald Ave and east of 23rd, kind of up to the Arlington.
So that's one of the questions I have. How many people here are from District 6? A lot of us aren't, including me. One of the things we also want to know is how are we going to do to help you because I'm District
I'm
6?
glad you asked that question. So a lot of folks will reply to an email and they'll say, oh, you know what, I'm sorry, I can't vote for you. Well, that's just a tiny bit of the puzzle here. So it doesn't matter whether you live in District 6. It doesn't even matter if you live in Richmond. You'll notice that the leader of my campaign, her title is Regional Ambassador. She doesn't like the fact that I call myself the campaign manager. Ruthie is a regional ambassador. That's because this is not just about District 6. It's actually not just about Richmond. It's about multiple diverse stakeholders working together to solve our local problems. So whether you live in District 6 or not is somewhat irrelevant to this campaign unless you're actually the one casting the vote. But if you care about what I'm talking about, get involved and get those folks in District 6 to vote. So everybody can play a part in that. Richard, I just want to call out Richard right here. Richard runs the program and she's from Vallejo. We met, what, 2 years ago, Soulful Softball Sunday, which is run by Rodney Alamo Brown, by the way. He's going to try to make it. He's endorsed me. And Ricky runs a program for formerly incarcerated women, helping them get them back on their feet. Do you think that stops at a border? She's from Vallejo and she's here today. So borders don't matter in terms of what this message is about. Anything else, real quick?
Anyone else?
Okay. Yeah.
Microphone. Wait for the microphone.
Yeah, Don, don't get in trouble, Don.
Sorry.
I wanted to ask whether the resolution by the Richmond City Council about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict that was somewhat controversial, what your feeling is about that? Because some of us were, let's just say, had opinions. Thank you.
Yeah, well, let me just say briefly, when it came out that there was this resolution coming forth, that Richmond City Council was going to put out a statement officially on behalf of the city about Gaza and Israel, my first reaction was, what the heck are they doing? okay? Look at the charter. What is the purpose of our city council? It's to take care of our city. It's to have safe, clean, fair environment for us all to be in. Yeah, go ahead, I don't think we should be in the business of opining on whatever, anywhere, okay? Once we passed the point of no return and it was gonna happen, and it's gonna be voted on, then I think we have a second opportunity. First opportunity should be, leave it alone. It's not the place for our city council. But if we are, and if I was on city council, I'll tell you exactly how I would react to that. Because, things get on the agenda in different ways, and as one council member, you can't keep it off. So when I've been there, a couple months ago when this came up, I'll tell you exactly what I would have done. I would have tried as hard as I possibly could to get people together from across the community, from across the city, to work on a joint statement. The fact that the resolution was written by, I don't know, a member of our council or their staff, I don't even know who wrote it. But the fact that it came from simply a person or even just the 7 people, apparently without any consultation of any single resident in Richmond, pissed me off. You will never, ever see me making decisions like that. In fact, one idea I have, I'm going to be rolling this out. If you're on my list, you'll be hearing about it. I'm going to form an email list. I'll call it the Council Advisory Group. And if you want to be, because not everybody wants to get an email all the time, but I'm going to do everything I can before every decision I make to hear from other people. And so what I would have done, you would have heard me saying, what do you think? What are your perspectives? And finally, I'll say this. And I was at that council meeting that went for like 7 hours until 1:30 in the morning. The irony of it, by the way, sorry, I got to say another word here. The irony was that the opening forum of that council meeting was full of about 30 minutes of firefighters from Richmond saying, help, we need more support. We're working like weeks of overtime. We need help. Our fire department asking our city council for help. Not even acknowledged. And then we spent 7 hours talking about Gosney. There's something wrong with that. I talked a little bit about my experience working with Israelis and Palestinians. I lived there, for crying out loud. I have deep connections with these people. And what I said during my 1 minute at the microphone that night was, you know what? Let's get all these people in the room who are saying, my side, no, my side, you're wrong, no, let's get them all together and work on a joint statement. And actually, I know that that's possible because that's the kind of work I do. And I actually worked with Israelis and Palestinians who were much more divided than the group in that room that night. And I guarantee you, it would have been possible to come up with a joint statement that represented a diverse group of stakeholders from across Richmond and was representative of our city, so that when the city council passes a resolution and they say, we Richmond, are actually referring to we Richmond. So, a little long-winded, but I can talk that long about anything, by the way. But we're out of time. I'm going to hand the mic back to Ruthie. So again, thank you so much. I'll stick around. If anyone wants to drop by, have a drink with me for my birthday, I'm going to be at the factory bar after 8 o'clock tonight. It's not big enough for all of us, so you'll have to take turns. Okay, Ruthie.